With more than 10 million people, Los Angeles County has a larger population than 42 states.
One picnic table for 10,000 people, one basketball court for 1,000 people, one park bench for about 100,000. As LA County runs out of open space and the opportunity to just buy pristine land disappears, we have to start looking at places that were forgotten.
Nature in the city is critical to the health of our society. A lot of these communities don't have access to open space. There's the perception, I think, that park is for them and not us.
Every child should have equal access to parks and recreation. Access to parks and recreation should not depend on where you live, or the color of your skin, or how much money you have.
With millions of people competing for precious little open space, Angelenos are creating new parks in surprising places. Although it was the region's primary source of water for more than a century, by the 1980s, the Los Angeles River had become an open sewer, splitting the city in two and fencing the public out.
The city actually turned its back to the river and it became a dumping ground. It became where they put rail yards and industrial sites and waste facilities.
Today, park planners are taking a new look at the long-lost Los Angeles River.
Most people are driving over the river as a concrete ditch, and they don't really see the connection, they don't really see the possibilities, and they think it's kind of a joke, and I don't blame them. But when you get to experience the river in a canoe or a kayak through Sepulveda Basin, with the great blue herons flying over and the fish jumping, and it's peaceful, you get the vision of creating something that we lack desperately here, which is something besides the freeways to tie all communities together. And the river just expresses that. Of course, that's its natural function. It expresses it perfectly.
So now what you're seeing is people are turning back to the river. They're turning back, facing the river, and looking at it as sort of the lifeblood or the through line for this entire movement that's happening here.
The restoration of the Los Angeles River is a bold idea that will take decades to realize, but the first steps have already been taken. Rio de Los Angeles State Park was reclaimed from an abandoned train yard.
The soccer fields perhaps draws the families into the park, but once they're here, they work just as hard as anybody to plant trees, take care of those trees, and begin to appreciate the value of wilderness and natural green space.
Just a mile downstream from Rio, LA, is another state park on the banks of the forgotten river.
At about the same time that the battle for Rio de Los Angeles was taking place, a similar struggle was taking place in Chinatown at the Cornfield property, which was also a former rail yard.
These two parks share a common legacy. Both were reclaimed from industrial brownfields. Both adjoin the Los Angeles River, and both parks were nearly lost to development.
The process of engaging, educating, and empower people to stand up to City Hall and say, we don't want a commercial project at Taylor Yard. We don't want 32 acres of warehouses in downtown LA. We want parks. That is all part of the process of equal justice and democracy, listening to the people, creating the kinds of community where they want to live and raise their children.
Across town is another state park reclaimed from abandoned industrial property. What is now a park was once an oil field.
We all heard of great places, Tahoe or the North Coast area in Humboldt County and all these preservation areas that were taken care of by the state of California tax dollars. The constituency was saying we want open space, but they weren't getting a chance to see, touch, and feel and experience it. So having the Baldwin Hills here within 5 miles of about 3 million people has made a big difference.
Yeah, it makes the exercise rewarding once you make it up all the way to the top and you see the view of the entire city. It's like, oh wow, this is amazing.
The component of getting outdoors, getting fit, breathing in clean air, interacting with people, has made this the outdoor health club of the West Side. And I'm going to tell you one thing. We're in the 2nd district of the county with the highest rates of obesity, the highest rates of diabetes, the highest rates of hypertension. And to just build these places and see the next generation of people coming out has been really inspiring.
At an Earth Day celebration, volunteers continue the work of restoring Baldwin Hills.
We are getting rid of the non-indigenous, non-useful plants to let the good plants and the good wildlife have space to grow.
We're turning the soil so there's more air.
When I started off, I didn't know that much about native plants or invasive. And then later on, within the progress, you learn more how to be part of the community, be part of what's actually helping nature and the environment.
Los Angeles people, they're mostly city people. The work we're doing now will actually get them interested in coming so they can experience nature instead of the city.
They get inspired. They come out here and they basically recreate themselves in an environment where recreation is one idea, but inspiring and bringing the spirit forth is another idea.
Children of color and low-income children don't see trees and grass in their local parks. They don't see trees and grass. If they don't see a red-tailed hawk flying over their local park, they don't see red-tailed hawks. They need to have the benefits of green space in their communities. And as those children grow up, in the next 5 to 10 years, they will become the park rangers of California. They will take those values that they learn here in urban parks and continuing to preserve green space in wilderness areas as well.
Eventually, Baldwin Hills will become the starting point for a new trail that will run to the beach and connect with the California Coastal Trail. If the dream of rewilding LA comes to pass, it will not only resurrect a lost Eden, it will reaffirm a forgotten vision. In 1930, Frederick Law Olmsted Jr. authored a detailed plan that proposed setting aside thousands of acres of parkland.
And here we are, 80 years later now, actually implementing the plan. So to me, that's poetic justice.